Hello, and welcome to the Overly Animated Podcast, where we take animation seriously. We talk everything animation here, including Final Space, which we'll be talking about tonight. I'm your host, Bonilla, and today I'm joined by Michelle Anderer.
Hello.
And April Collins.
Hi there.
Today, we are discussing the 8th episode of Season 2 of Final Space, titled The Remembered. As always, you can find our previous discussions on Final Space at overlyanimated.com. You can find our Final Space feed at iTunes at overlyanimated.com/iTunes, on YouTube at youtube.com/overlyanimated, and wherever you listen to us, we appreciate any ratings and reviews you want to leave us. But yeah, today we will be talking about The Remembered. This is a very important, plotty, lots of stuff going on episode, so spoilers will abound. If you haven't watched it and you are interested, I would definitely advise you to watch it before listening to the rest of this podcast, since we'll probably dive right into the big goings on. But yeah, with that in mind, let's get initial reactions out of the way. How you guys feel about this episode? Michelle, how do you feel?
I will say this, okay? The ending was a twist I did not see coming in a million years. Just because we've spent so much time with Little Kato and company getting past Avocado being dead for real. I am curious, like, where this is gonna go and how it's gonna change the whole crew dynamic. I don't know. I thought this episode was interesting. I like that because the whole plot involves them going back in time for 3 years, we get to see them set up so many things that happened in the first season with, like, the lady bodysuit and how Mooncake escapes and, like, all that stuff's, like, interesting. Yeah, I can't believe Avocado's not dead anymore. That's, like, such a surprise. But I thought this was a very interesting episode. I guess I can say that initially.
Okay. April, your reactions to this episode?
So, Avocado is alive.
In case Michelle wasn't clear enough, yes.
Yeah.
Avocado is alive.
Yeah. Because I have reservations, and, like, Michelle kind of expressed them a little bit, just because, like, we've put a lot of, like, time and effort into, especially with, like, Little Kato, like, he had that entire episode of, like, sort of, like, accepting this, like, loss, and then for him to be, like, for Avocado to be back is, like, it's kind of weird. And then, like, the twist at the end, where he, like, doesn't even know who he is even weirder. And, like, I don't know, like, part of me just feels like the worst is going to happen. And we can get all into that. But other than that, like, from my own personal feelings, like, I thought this episode was very, like, kind of well done, especially with the whole time travel thing. Like, it seemed very, I don't know, like, wrapped up, if that's the right way to say it. And I wasn't, like, distracted by, I guess, like, the concept of time travel in this episode. Because sometimes I feel like I'll get stuck on ideas and I'm like, but wait, how, like, where, who, okay, like, and then, like, I don't, like, take the time to enjoy the rest of the episode because I'm too busy trying to figure out the mechanics of everything. So, like, I'm glad that I didn't, like, devote any extra time to the mechanics of time travel in this episode. I also thought this episode was very pretty. And I know that's kind of, like, weird to say, but I just thought, like, the animation was really nice. Like, it looked, like, very clean. But yeah, and we saw the Lord Commander again. That was kind of exciting. Like, so that was interesting. But yeah, so I guess, like, my feelings on this episode are very, like, mixed. Like, I'm excited to have Avocado back as long as, like, we can get over this hump. But yeah, like, those are my feelings.
All right. Yeah, my general feeling about this episode is that for most of it, it was, it was pretty fun, like
Mm-hmm.
the experience of going back, being able to see Lord Commander again is, very exciting. And like David Tennant, he was a missing ingredient. So I enjoy him getting back in here. Avocado, his reunion with Little Cato is, feels very momentous, and like they do a good job with that. So I think that it was definitely a lot of fun going through it. And I think I agree with April that for the most part, the timey-wimey stuff it's passable enough that you can like live with it. I will say that I got a little bit distracted in terms of like keeping track of the callbacks. But
No.
so
There are a lot.
yeah, so I got a little distracted, but it wasn't enough to bother me necessarily. So like I guess I'll live. But yes, but I guess the big thing is that this hinges on a twist at the end of the episode, and that is something that, in this episode, there's not really much to dissect except that it exists, and it's more like, what does this do to the show going forward? So like, the episode itself I can enjoy, but also with the twist I have to think about, okay, well, what does this do for later, right? So, with that in mind, I think that we have to talk about that first, right? So, Avocado is switched out by way of this time stuff.
Time stuff.
Yeah, time stuff. They go and pick up Avocado's dead corpse. But Gary instead stays behind, and we advanced 3 years. And so, Avocado has been brought back to life, but he does not remember anything. I presume 3 years have passed and he doesn't remember anything, if I understood the time thing correctly. But yeah, so Avocado knows nothing, everybody's sad, and we end on just Avocado saying no, and then it just cuts away. So, you guys have already mentioned a big piece of this is that part of the season has been Little Cato getting over his dad, right? So now that we introduce his dad back into our current day, but with this caveat of he doesn't know what's going on and he's like kind of a vegetable in that way. What do you guys feel is going to be the immediate consequences of this on our dynamic that we've got going so far? April, do you want to go first and try to tackle that?
Immediate consequences. Well, okay, so my first thought is because the whole part of them being able to go back and get Avocado was that something had to be left behind. And I don't know if it necessarily counts that Gary just decided to hang out for 3 years or however long it was. So I'm like, that was one of my first thoughts was, okay, well, we didn't technically make any kind of sacrifice. So I'm curious if like there's going to be something like some type of like ramifications of that, of not fulfilling that sort of like, I guess, agreement. So that's my first thought. My second is like I fully expect like Lil Cato to freak out. Like I can't imagine him not freaking out because yeah. like my dad's been dead for however long. Oh, just kidding, he's alive. Like yeah, you know what I mean? Like that does some things to people. And then like there's the whole Avocado thing too. Like how do we even begin with him like not knowing who he is or who anyone is? Like that's going to be even more that's going to have even more of an impact on like Little Cato because he like, you know what I mean? Like there's just so much like tied into it. So I just don't.
It's like basically his dad's still gone because his dad doesn't know who he is, so he's not really his dad anymore. He has none of his memories, so they have no shared history.
Mm-hmm.
So like, how is this any better than him being dead?
Right?
Honestly.
I feel like this is worse because like at least like you got some kind of like accept. You know what I mean? Like there was like that acceptance, like there was that proof that like, oh, your father's gone, like, you know, you did the legwork of like, you know, going through those stages of grief or wherever you are, like you're making progress. But then like I feel like it would just be worse, like to have that constant reminder, like I went through all of this grief and here you are and you don't even know who I am. Like, oh, I'm starting to feel anxious just thinking about that. Like, like if it had to happen to me, I'd be like, no, I would rather you be dead. Like, don't come back here.
I guess you could argue that this avocado can at least make new memories, which is something, but he's never going to have that shared history with his son. And that's like a pretty key difference. So, like, it's never going to be the same. And that's still like that's a kind of loss. And he's not, I mean, I don't think they're going to try this again. So the dad he knew is gone forever. And I mean, I hope he can make peace with that now, even though it seemed like he kind of already did in his own episode. So, I don't know. And part of me wonders, did we bring Avocado back simply because like he was a beloved fan favorite character? Because I mean, he doesn't know anything. Like, he doesn't even know who he is. Like, how is he going to be helpful? Like, does he remember how to be a soldier even? Like, is he going to be a huge, like, burden on their ship?
Are those, like, natural instincts?
Yeah. Plus, like, Lord Commander had the whole thing where it's like, something's not right about him, and just give him the right circumstances, and he'll show you who he truly is. Like, obviously, we're going to see, like, a bad Kato happen at some point, and that's, like, concerning, and is little Kato going to have to, like, put his memory lost dad down if he turns bad? Like, I think that's on the table now, and it's like, oh, boy. I'm really curious where this is going to go from here.
And well, it's funny that you mentioned like, is Lil Kato going to have to put his dad down? Because that was like one of my immediate things whenever he was like, "Oh, I don't know who I am." Like, oh God, like, are we going to have to like go through killing him off again? Because that would be horrible. Like, also like a waste of like time, you know, like time.
Yeah.
Like, because this is obviously, like, you know, this episode and then next week's episode are connected. And, I mean, you know, based off, like, what Olin told everyone. And then, of course, like, through the episode itself. And so, I hope that we don't, like, kill him off. But I hope that the way that we handle this is done, like, tastefully. And if you're going to do it, like, if they do a trope, I hope that they like add some type of unique flair to it, if that makes any kind of sense.
Yeah, and I definitely think that there's an opportunity here to be very emotional with coming to terms that Avocado might do something wrong and towards the crew, and little Kato has to deal with and be like, well, that's not actually your dad anymore because he's like gone. And that would make the episodes earlier in the season mean something of like him getting over the memory of his father and like that helping him along, but also even getting new scarring experiences. But like, so I think that it definitely, the issue here is that characters with dealing with memory loss is always a tough proposition because you gotta deal with them not knowing who they are, and we know who they were. And it's like, okay, can we fast forward to the part where you remember who you are? So like that's always a worry of just like passing time.
Yeah.
But if we do something where this actually ends up diverging into a different Avocado, one that's more unstable, as Lord Commander helpfully drops in his monologue, I think that you could do something interesting with that, and at least to me, that feels like the one that I would be most interested in seeing, because the other option is just like keeping him around and like developing developing into like a new person all over again. But this crew is already kind of crowded. Like we've talked about how like it doesn't feel like everyone's getting enough focus. So if we're gonna add Avocado permanently to that, like it feels like a bit of a stretch. But I mean, they could, but like I wouldn't have faith in like them getting him enough time, or if they have to give him time, it would be at the sacrifice of other people who probably deserve a little bit more time. So it's definitely interesting, but I an interesting choice to bring him back. But I would be interested in evil avocado, honestly.
Oh gosh, that would be terrifying.
Interesting for sure. Just like a side of him that has kind of been hinted about in his past, but we haven't really seen fully ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I guess it's also interesting to see that when we go to the flashback, this is like the first time we're kind of seeing Avocado in his general mode, aside from like
exactly.
the flashback we got. But this is like the first time we're seeing him leading crowds in chants for Lord Commander and stuff. We don't really get to see him kick ass, but presumably if he gets activated at some point, he'll kick somebody's butt again, and we can go back to seeing Avocado being badass. Let's see. Another notable thing with Avocado in this episode is that moment where they reunite, and I want to highlight that because I felt a little something, like little Avocado being able to like reconnect with his dad for the first time in a while, and they have that special connection of being like, hey, like I know you're my son because like you can do the cool eye thing, and like that's something that he won't have anymore because Avocado remembers nothing. So it's tragic in a way that
it is tragic.
It is tragic.
Because like the past dad is the last time that he gets to actually, connect with his dad. Present dad will no longer be connected with.
Aw, it's so sad to think about. Especially because, like, Gary has that one line, too. Like, he says, what does he say to Little Kato? He says something like, oh, like, I'm not who he needs right now. He needs his son. And then, like, for him to just not remember. Oh, that's just so hard. I won't lie. Whenever he delivered that line, I was just like, ugh. Like, that one kind of got me a little bit. I don't know why. It struck something in me, which is super strange because I don't have a close relationship with my parents, so I'm like, why did I connect to this random moment?
Yeah. Another theory I want to throw out here. Avocado has lost his memory. Do you guys believe that this will be permanent, or is there a chance that he gets his memory back, or like, what do you guys feel about that particular part of him staying around?
I'm going to be frustrated if he does get it back, because then it's like, why couldn't he have just had it in the first place? Because we only have so much time left with the show. And is this narratively going to be a big deal to focus on him with his memory loss and potentially getting it back? And is that going to serve the larger arc of this season of the story? Because if not, I'm not sure that's the best use of our time. Like, as you were saying, Alex, like, it's such a crowded cast anyway. To add one more thing like this as a focus, it better be done for a good reason. And I can't really see at this point what that reasoning would be. So, whereas like him never getting his memory back is really sad, and I think like it kind of just that would be like the final nail in the coffin to the whole like your dad's really gone in every way, shape, and form, and this is like a permanent choice, and there's no getting past it. And you literally tried everything now. And it sucks, but like it also like means something. Because like, yeah, if he just gets his memory back and it's fine, like why are we spending time on that? How does that make sense with the progression of the rest of the story? I don't know. I struggle trying to make sense of that at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, it's definitely going to be very frustrating if he gets his memory back, especially, like, if he gets, like, a full recollection of his memory back, because, what did we watch? Oh, it was Star versus the Forces of Evil, when, like, Moon came back, and, like, she didn't know who she was, and then, like, it was, like, all of a sudden, she knew who she was, but she wasn't herself, and so I remember just being extremely frustrated by that, and so I don't think that I would be okay with it in this like sense either, especially because like you brought up, Michelle, that like we only have so much time, and if you're going to like waste our time by like, oh, he doesn't have his memory, but now he does when there's like obviously other things that we could be focusing on, like that just like sucks. And then the other thing that I've already noticed too, even within this episode, is that like Gary's whole purpose or wanting to go to Final Space is to like save Quinn, but like he abandoned that this episode. And so is that what we're going to do? Like we're abandoning this quest for Quinn so that we can like focus on Avocado, or like focus, you know what I mean? Like getting his memories back. Like, is that our new quest now? Because like, I don't know, like we're this close to this, like the season finale almost. And like, I still don't know what we're doing. And like, and then like,
it would be like a whole U-turn, right? To go from like, we gotta go to Final Space to get Quinn, which has been the kind of the major goal this whole season, to be like, actually, we're gonna recover Avocado's memories instead. Just kidding.
Yeah. Well, it's like we're trying to fix a car, and it's a Chevy, but we have a Volkswagen manual in our hands. Like, what are we? Like, I'm confused. And it's in German. I'm even more confused.
That's a very specific metaphor. Yeah. One out there theory that I saw is that this Time Sammy person who's like orchestrating all of this, be like, hey, like you can bring Avocado back if you want, but like he gives this vitamin T to dead Avocado to supposedly stabilize him, but like that it's after that we like figure out that he has lost his memories. So, like, the fact that, because this Sammy character, like, is out of nowhere, as many side characters in Final Space are out of nowhere, but he seems to have a boss. He has rules of the time, even though, like, he's kind of, like, iffy on, like, when he decides to apply them. But, is there any, I mean, I think that this is kind of just an out there theory, but I do want to throw it out at least. Like, is there a chance that Avocado is being used by higher forces to distract the crew, blah blah blah?
Maybe. I like that, because that actually
like that too.
It would tie back to the narrative we've already established this season, instead of throwing us in a completely different direction. So yeah, that'd be interesting, because like, why, you'd think if he's like, don't do literally anything that would disrupt the timeline, like, of events, taking Avocado is totally disrupting the timeline. So maybe like this is like a whole weird thing that he's orchestrating, or his boss is orchestrating. Yeah, I like that as a theory.
I like that too. And that would help bring like this back to like our main thing that we're doing, especially because he makes a point and he says like, you can't mess with the events, and I'm like, is it not messing with events to go back in past and take somebody? Like, I'm confused. I need clarity.
Well, yeah, and like if it ends up, because as you mentioned, like it's kind of weird that we're like going on the search of these dimensional keys, and Gary very quickly is like, "We'll give you the key if you get us Avocado," and so and then Sammy like accept this pretty quickly as well, but for the purpose of getting the keys. So like there's a chance where it's like some other people are trying to collect the keys and they want to get in on this. I guess it feels weird because of the fact that, like, as we mentioned in this podcast before, like the Gary Avocado relationship was very strong in season 1, but just we haven't really touched on it that much in season 2. So like it feels weird when we bring it back all of a sudden to be like, hey guys, remember when they were like the closest of friends? Well, he still feels that. Don't worry. It's like. So I think that's part of why it could feel like a U-turn, especially at this like midway through the season that we're doing this. But I guess like if you want to recall that Gary and Avocado were like really really close friends, you could like kind of justify it, but at the same time it's just that it's been so long.
Yeah, it's not like, I don't know. Especially because it's very one-sided, too. Like, Well, I mean, in the episode, well, no, even like in the past, it was all super one-sided. And so, I mean, I did enjoy all of like the cute little jokes and like the little remembrances, but yeah, it's hard.
Yeah. So let's go through the episode as it got to that point. We began at the end, so now let's go back to the beginning. The opening gag for this episode is Gary and Locato playing "Is This Serious?" and then wow. So did you guys enjoy the wow?
I enjoyed this opening actually, and I don't know why. I just thought it was very like humorous for them to just constantly be like, "Is this serious?" Like, and then like everyone just started to like join in, kind of thing. And I was like, how many of these people think something serious is actually going on, and how many understand that this is a joke? Because like that made it even better. Like I felt like whatchamacallit, I can't remember her name now.
Nightfall?
Yeah, I always want to call her Nighthawk.
That'd be a cool name.
Oh man,
I know, right? But Nightfall, like, I feel like she was in on it, but I don't feel like anyone else was in on it. So it just made it even more fun for me.
Yeah. So we have that as the opening, and then it turns out that there's time worms, which is cool for me because it's like, oh, it's from the pilot, that worm that like sends people back in time.
Yeah.
So that's a pilot callback there that this exists, but it gets them and it sends them 3 years in the past to Terracon Prime, to Lord Commander's planet. Clarence immediately is like, oh, hey, there's a dimensional key there. We could go get it. And I think Hugh commented like, how do you always know these things? Or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Clarence...
He's a time traveler, and we just don't know it.
Maybe that money compass is good for more than just finding money. It can also...
It works through. Well, maybe you can find money in the past and future too, though.
Oh,
Maybe it has no time boundaries.
That's really awkward, though.
Yeah, it's really awkward.
Like, how do you know? Is this money in the past? Is it in the future? Is it here right now?
Well, you see, when it's in the present, it's pointing down. When it's in the past, it's pointing to the left, and it's forward, future.
My left or your left?
Yes. So they figure out that they gotta go down there. The Hugh sad moment of the episode is that Hugh offers to come with them, and it's like, hey, but do you mean like thanks, but no thanks, you worthless pile of tin? And Gary says, bye, and he is just very sad, and Ava is enjoying his misery. So Hugh continues to be a punching bag, and I'm sad about that, but all right.
Poor Hugh.
Yeah. We get to see General Avocado giving his speech. Little Cato tries to reach him, and that's where Time Swap Sammy shows up for the first time. He's laying out the rules of time travel, but it's like basically like, don't cause paradoxes, like don't mess with events. There's a joke about no tipping, and Fox takes a special offense to this. And then Gary later brings it back with like, and we will tip every service worker because they're the backbone of society, which is great because service workers need your help, listeners.
Yeah, it's not their fault that their employers don't want to pay them a fair wage.
Yeah. So if you have the ability to tip, please tip your waiters and other retail people. We have the time worm. They figured out that he's going to leave in 57 minutes, so they got like timed of splitting up, one to find avocado and one to find the key. Not that much Kevin in this episode, Michelle. There's like two things that stood out to me. Like, first of all, like Kevin is kind of blocking Little Avocado and like reenacting Avocado's death.
That was pretty gruesome. I'm like not quite sure what Kevin was doing there, but I mean, I don't really think he has quite a moral conscience, so I guess that checks out. They probably don't program that into him.
I guess. But it's funny. It's like,
Maybe.
hey, like you remember that time, right?
Like, died horribly.
Yeah, like, and I'm not
Yeah.
even sure, like, is he like trying to like keep little Kato from getting to his dad, and is like he's distracting him, or is it just that this memory came up and he wanted to share it?
I feel like he just wanted to share it.
I think he genuinely forgot that little Kato would remember that, and he's like, "Oh, I better give him a play-by-play, just like in case he forgot." He thought I was doing him a favor, but no, Kevin.
Yeah.
That was in poor taste, Kevin.
Yeah, okay. Well, many things Kevin does is in poor taste, but we still love him for it.
That's true.
Yeah.
The only other Kevin moment I have here is later. He's disguised as a guard, but kind of badly because like
Yes.
like the suit is kind of like over his head and stuff. So
He's trying to blend in, but he's still a very obvious Kevin shape, so that's working against him in that moment.
Yeah. So there's the one half that goes to find the key. That Clarence has this double secret elevator, but it turns out everybody knows about it. Including the guy with the butt hand. Like this is a running gag that like
Oh my
keeps
god!
popping up. This
It's
guy.
the third time.
Yeah. I thought it was done.
Oh.
No, we're
He's
still here.
See, I'd rather have Money Compass 5 million more times than this guy, but this is what the show chose to focus on.
Yeah, actually, have we? I mean, we've been referencing Money Compass on this podcast for like pretty much every episode. But has there been another episode after the first that used the Money Compass?
Yes,
Oh.
it's come back at least once or twice.
Okay,
At least once after the first episode for sure.
Okay, so it's around. We just gotta be patient, I guess.
We have to find it.
In the meantime, we'll be satisfied with butt hand guy and with wearing corpses as suits because Clarence gives Gary this corpse as a suit again, and they find the I guess this family in general is a running gag. There's also like we had that one where there's the cold open in Hoth, and the dad was chasing them on his ship or whatever. So this comes back because it turns out that the corpse is the dad of this guard, and the guard dies, and it turns out that that's the corpse that Gary used
Clarence
in the first season.
Yeah. Of all the things to bring back.
Yeah, this was a very important time loop.
I know! It's up there with Mooncake. It had equal importance in terms of how much time we spent on it.
Yeah. Speaking of Mooncake, that moment where like they go and it's like, oh, it's not a treasure house, but it's like a monster terrarium, whatever, and they find Mooncake. The moment of like our Mooncake finding past Mooncake and them like being really happy to see each other.
Yeah.
So like
It was super cute.
Yeah. Wow. And so Gary comes out to free this past Mooncake. So I guess that's supposed to explain how how Mooncake found Gary in the first episode.
Oh,
like what would
yeah.
now that like this happened? Does Mooncake in episode 1 already know who Gary is?
Oh,
No.
I don't know.
I don't remember.
Oh.
The time streams are getting too complicated at this point.
Well, I wonder if it's like one of those things where like they're like, because they're like purposely like wrecking, like, I guess I can say the word shit. They're purposely wrecking shit at this point.
Yeah.
And so I feel like it's one of those things where like whenever like we first had our like Mooncake and Gary like moment, like no, they didn't know each other, but now like it's probably a very real possibility because they've gone through and just did whatever the fuck they wanted and changed it. So that's like my take on it, is that they're just like in the past just doing whatever they want. And so I guess it's like also interesting because I hope that they're like whatever they do will like come back to them again, because that would be like really interesting to kind of see at some point, like as kind of like a one-off episode, kind of like with whatchamacallit, the one guy in the happy place.
Oh God, yeah! Is he gonna come back this season? I really hope not. Oh my God.
Yeah. That's my like read on that. So that's kind of fun that like they're creating all of these possibilities. I think that's another reason why I liked this episode too, is just because like they're they're going through and just doing whatever they want in the past, but I feel like the show could potentially like explore some of those like repercussions later on.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I definitely could see that, like them looking at, oh, okay, well, this thing is slightly different than I remember that sort of situation. Like that could be fun to go back to. While that happens, Little Kato with Fox and Ash are going to Avocado's house. They find past Little Kato. They have like a little fight there. Calls him old and wrinkly or something. But eventually they lock him in the closet, and our Little Kato talks to past Avocado and it's like convinces him that he's from the future. They do the whole eyebrows thing. It's like their bond. It's like, get the hell over here. So it's a very, very meaningful reunion for Little Kato there. Another thing that potentially could change timeline is that Little Kato tells Avocado the Lord Commander is going to kill him.
Yeah, the perfect spoiler for his own story.
Because I rewatched episode 6, and like the way that Avocado told the flashback is that it only once Lord Commander did the thing where they're threatening their firstborns was that like he turned. But like now you wonder, now with this knowledge, does it happen sooner? Does anything change because of this? They're like, well, what goes on there?
Well, like he helps them escape, so I feel like he turned right then. That was his new moment, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I guess that could be it too. And I can. This is confusing because like also like in present day what we have is the Avocado who died like with Gary and everything. So does anything that happened to past Avocado affect the Avocado that we have in the present day if we did that whole switcheroo situation?
I guess not, though, because he doesn't remember anything, so it doesn't matter that he learned it from his son. Yeah, he's just like a blank slate. Yeah. Like he's no one. He has no sense of self. He has no memories. So like he's not his dad. He's not Avocado. Like he doesn't have that sense of selfhood. So who knows who he is? He's a new person.
He certainly doesn't know who he is.
So they go in to snatch the key. Well, Gary just jumps ahead and snatches in, like activates security systems. They gotta run out while Avocado is left behind. They end up leaving the planet on the time worm, but then the time swap Sammy shows up to ask for the key. They do the whole trade. Gary and Little Kato dive to go get Avocado. The wires are too short, and then Gary lets himself go, and that's kind of hard. Little Kato, I think, cries a little bit there, but.
Well, yeah, because he's like super close to Gary, and I feel like it would be really hard to like, as part of like his healing and getting over his dad, like he bonded with Gary, and then to have someone that he's so close to, like have to watch them die too, like that would be horrible.
2 for 2.
Traumatizing. This poor kid's gonna be a serial killer or something.
How do we know he isn't already?
I mean, we don't. We'll have to go to the future and find out.
Yeah. So Gary lands on this planet. He figures, okay, I'm gonna go look at Lord Commander. This we haven't talked about this part where like Gary just confronts Lord Commander from the past. Like, does this whole monologue of like, hey, if I shoot you, nothing's gonna happen.
Oh my
and then like
God.
As soon as he finishes the monologue, he gets beaten up, so nothing happens.
Yeah. Why did he monologue? Gary should know by now. Like, honestly.
I don't know that it's necessarily like within Gary's character to just like shoot the Lord Commander. You know what I mean? Like that would be like if he actually did that, that would be something very serious to discuss, because that is a different Gary. Like I understand doing things like potentially killing people or injuring them in like a self-defense kind of thing, or like
shooting him in the foot like he does several times.
Yeah. Him already, just not deadly shooting.
Yeah, but like to do something sort of in like cold blood, like that is a new side of Gary. That would be like evil Gary. I'd watch that. Like
I don't think it'd make him evil, but it would make him more morally compromised, and I'd love that. That'd be a great side of Gary to explore. Give me that, come on!
Give us a morally compromised Gary.
Yes.
Well, what if Gary has to kill Avocado?
Oh god, you know what? That's
rogue. No, I feel like Little Kato has to be the one to kill the new Kato, if that's the case. It's his fake dad, who's not his dad anymore. He has to be the one to kill him.
Or because Little Kato and Gary are bros now, so they team up and shoot him at the same time.
Yeah.
Then they do like a cool fist bump.
I'm increasingly sad we brought Avocado back if he's just gonna
I know.
It's not good.
This is what I was worried about with them bringing back Avocado. I was like, okay, like we're either going to have to now put in time and effort to this character, or we're going to have to get rid of him. Yeah. Which I guess that would be like that's some serious like character development, especially for Lil Kato. And I don't doubt that like Gary would, walk away with something from the experience as well. But like to bring back a very like loved and enjoyed character just so that like we have to kill him off for the purpose of growing characters, like I'm just predicting that there could have probably been a different way or a better way to go about that.
Well, and the thing is, it's not even really a beloved character because it's not going to have the same weight if it doesn't act like the character that we saw in season 1, right?
Exactly.
And the whole idea of bringing Avocado and Little Kato together, like in your head, it's like, oh, okay, we finally get to see like a different side of Avocado, like his being kind of a dad, and like how does he handle that? But no, we're not going to get that.
This is not Avocado. This is someone else.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be weird. We're gonna have to. It's
like in like Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows story about how the one guy used the resurrection stone to bring back his wife, but it wasn't her. Like she was alive, but it's like she wasn't herself. Like it's like exactly like that. So, and then eventually the wife hung herself. So that would be, oh gosh, what if Avocado kills himself? Oh, I'm not ready for
But
this.
again, it's not Avocado. It's just the
shell
body. It's a shell of it. He's a new person who looks and sounds like him. But that's just, this has to tie into the larger plot, or it's going to be so weird we're spending more than one episode on it, because it's such a big move to do in the show to bring him back. So there has to be a larger reason, right?
Yes. I hope so.
I would hope so too, although I'm also kind of enjoying that as this podcast has progressed, we've gotten more and more darker with the possibilities of what could happen.
Yeah. Look, the pessimists in all of us are coming out, okay? And that's the other thing too, this is an adult show, so there are a lot of things that are within the realm of possibility that could take place as a result of this episode. Like, if it was like a kid show, it'd be like, oh, well, they'll get their memory back and it'll be great, like, and everything will move on. But that's not the case. Like, we've already had real consequences within the show. So let's take it a step further. How far do we want to go down this rabbit hole, of darkness?
Mm-hmm. And something that just came to my head now, this is kind of a similar theme to the Nightfall episode, where Nightfall also has to come to terms with the fact that her past is not something that she's going to be able to replicate again, and she's not going to have the same Gary again. And now Little Kato has to come to terms he's not going to have the same Avocado again.
this is like very similar to that. Oh man, that just clicked in my mind. So like this might be how they incorporate like Nightfall a little bit more in terms of like character development is her
relate.
Yeah, like, and that would be like a good bond. I say good, it's not good, but it would be like.
I mean, it'd be a roundabout way of getting Nightfall involved in something.
Yeah. Well, it would be a roundabout way. We could also use the opportunity to learn more about her character, who she is, like and then like at the same time, she's also forming a relationship with Lil Kato that she doesn't necessarily have, which then sort of like deepens her roots within this character, or not this character, but like this like
this
sort of
crew.
Yeah, this crew and this dynamic, because really like she's like, you know, we've continuously discussed how like she's sort of like out on the outskirts, and so and then she, like the one episode we do have about her is like her relationship to Gary, and so this would be a good one for her to form a relationship that's outside of Gary and give her character like something else that's not Gary. I just want her to not be related to Gary.
Yeah. So there are. I think that, well, just quickly wrapping up here, like Gary is on that planet for 3 years, apparently. He's learned how to speak Pigeon. He says, I think he says, peace be with you, my brother.
He's learned how to speak Pigeon on that planet.
Because there are lots of pigeons, and that was the only thing you had to spend time.
3 years. Yeah.
Yes.
But by the way, like again, like this time stuff confuses me. So does that mean that they were with a memoryless avocado for 3 years, and they're still broken up about it?
That doesn't make sense.
Was it 3 years, or was it like instantaneous for them? Like it was 3 years for Gary, but it was instantaneous for them.
Oh,
that's what I took
sense.
that as. Because it seemed very instantaneous for them. And then for Gary, he's just like, I took you guys long enough. And they're like, motherfucker, it's only been like 5 seconds. Calm yourself. Like,
yeah, I guess they were like, because the Sammy guy was like hacking the worm or something. So maybe they like, once Gary got dropped off, they just continued in the worm back to the present day or something. Okay, that explains it a little bit better, I suppose. But
I was like, that's how I took it as, and like thinking about it any other way would confuse me or upset me. But also, Gary's like 3 years older now.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, he should keep that stubble. It suits him.
Also, all he got was stubble after 3 years. Poor guy. Was he trying to grow a beard? Are we gonna make fun of him for that? Because that would be kind of fun.
Wasn't there that one where like we saw the alternate Garys and he was like really jealous of the one that had like a thick mustache? I feel like I remember this. So maybe it's just that this version of Gary cannot grow facial hair, and that's why he's very envious of the people who can.
Now we know. We figured it out.
So yeah, and it ends with like him showing up to Avocado's like, "Do you remember anything?" No, and then it ends.
Dun, dun, dun.
So in this podcast, we've discussed many different possibilities for Avocado's reintegration into the cast, and we will see how that turns up in future episodes. Before we sign off, any final thoughts you guys have about this episode? April?
I just hope that this is all going to be worth it in the end.
Yeah. That's
all I want out of this like story that we're doing, is that I just want it to be worth it and not a waste of our time, because I would be very disappointed. Yeah. Final thoughts.
And that was your final thought too, Michelle?
I mean, honestly, same. This is such a big move for the show to do. I hope it's going to serve the greater plot and narrative of this season specifically, so that it feels like whatever is going to happen feels earned and makes sense and is plausible and gives us lots of reasonable feels. That would be the best case scenario. So that's what I'm hoping for. Yeah.
And I think that given how many possibilities we've discussed, like there's a way for this to come out fine. And so I'm hopeful for it, but I agree that like this twist is like so big that it kind of, it kind of puts you at a halt, or more like okay, where we go, like because of the magnitude of it. It gives you pause, like how this is going to turn. But also, Final Space has done a lot of twists, I feel like, so we've gotten this far. So
and the show has handled like tropey things like very well, in such a way that like you don't mind that it's a trope. So like that's the other thing, I guess the other reason why like I have faith that like there's a really good potential that they'll be able to handle this in a way that is worth it, versus like, you know, like, oh, you just did the stereotypical like something triggered his one memory and now all of his memories are back kind of situation.
We'll see.
We will see. And we will be back to discuss next week's episode. Until then, you can find out the info on this podcast at overlyanimated.com. You can join us on Discord if you want to chat with us about animation at overlyanimated.com/Discord. I will say I posted the picture on the Final Space Discord channel of the thing I was talking about last week that I wanted the GIF of. I found the GIF, but I still haven't found someone who can identify the GIF for me. So please join the Discord just to let me know who's in that GIF, because it was really bothering me. So thank you. Anyway, you can also support us financially via Patreon at patreon.com/overlyanimated. Thanks to all of our current patrons, especially our patron of the podcast, Lucas, aka Rocco. Thanks as always to our Patreon executive producers, Ryan, Steve, Beatrice, Hugh, Michael, and Needle. Besides Final Space, which is our like only weekly show going on. Well, we do have Fruits Basket, which coverage came back this week, so you can check that out. That's also weekly. We've got She-Ra coverage going on right now. We've got Miraculous Ladybug is floating out there. I believe we're going to do a coverage on the Rocco's Modern Life movie at some point. So that stay tuned for that. So lots of different animation going on. But Final Space will continue to sustain us for at least the next month and change. So we're excited to continue covering that, and we will be back with you for next week's episode. But until then, we'll talk to you later. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.